Recap in minutes. In today's video, we will be enjoying a drama history film, entitled Kalashnikov. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The movie begins in the year 1941. During the height of World War II, Senior Sergeant Mikhail Kalashnikov commands tanks for the Red Army. Together with his gunner Kolya, he is closing in on the enemy's base. Just as they were about to make a successful attack, the machine gun jammed, rendering them helpless. Kalashnikov's tank has just been hit by a grenade and is on fire as he steers it. He had no choice but to charge the enemy's position, crushing their weapons and equipment in the process. After Kalashnikov and his men are seriously injured while destroying a German anti-tank gun, they are evacuated from the front lines to receive medical treatment. Meanwhile, Captain of Engineers Vasily Lyatai brings back the wounded men, including Kalashnikov. But they ran into trouble on the way. Lyatai and Kalashnikov's military vehicle become stuck down in the mud, and they are forced to seek assistance from the locals. Kalashnikov unexpectedly inquires about the new submachine gun the engineer captain is toting into battle with the Red Armies. Lyatai's answer is straightforward: he doesn't know how powerful the rifle is yet. Once they reach the ranch, 3 Germans emerge from one of the houses, and Kalashnikov stays back to protect Lyatai. After Kalashnikov's brand new submachine gun jammed, the Germans shot Lyatai, forcing Kalashnikov to resort to using his handgun. Due to a malfunction in the magazine, Lyatai had his brand new submachine gun jam at a crucial moment. This motivated Kalashnikov to employ the creativity he had developed on his own to create a new automatic weapon for the Soviet military. Kalashnikov tells a hurt Lyatai that he is an inventor and that he created various weapons in his childhood. His latest invention was a drying system for use with camping beds. Now that they have been safely moved to the facility, Kalashnikov will be able to heal in the comfort of his own house. Along with the other soldiers who have been sent home, he takes a train back to his hometown and is given priority seating by the conductor. A flashback of Kalashnikov as a child, when he enjoyed creating his own weapons and other improvised playthings. Along the way back to his home, Kalashnikov stops at Matai Station in Kazakhstan, where he used to work as an engineer until being dismissed for creating his own personal weapon designs at the depot's workshop. Instead of going to his mother, he convinces his old boss Krotov to help him put together his latest project, but Krotov refuses because he is injured and can't even hold a hammer. Quite convincingly, Kalashnikov tells Krotov that the Red Army needs a decent machine gun to win and that he has some ideas on how to make one. In Krotov's workshop, Kalashnikov offers to make an automatic machine gun. Krotov vividly recalls the trouble Kalashnikov caused with Krotov's prior creation. Unfortunately for Kalashnikov, he is unable to win over Krotov once again. However, when Kalashnikov sees the high-ranking commander, Lieutenant Colonel Basarsov, exiting the train, he knows this is his chance to pitch his plan. Kalashnikov approaches Basarsov for permission to speak, and Basarsov permits him to do so. Since joining the army in 1938, Kalashnikov has been in the thick of battle, where he has eliminated 4 tanks and 8 anti-tank guns. He elaborates by saying that they must resort to using their bare hands to fight occasionally. He's met a German who's armed with an 80-bullet machine gun and can fire off a barrage in a matter of seconds, which is his basis to make a new one for the Red Army. After much back and forth, Kalashnikov finally manages to persuade Basarsov to recommend his concept to Krotov. With the help of the tools in the workshop, Kalashnikov is able to give form to his ideas on paper. The bigger issue, though, arises when he begins to construct his idea. Since he is currently injured, he requires a force to take his place. As it turns out, Krotov is equally short on staff, so Kalashnikov's request to borrow one of his workshop employees falls through. Kalashnikov persevered in developing his concept despite a shortfall of laborers. Then a worker named Zhenya Kravchenko and his crew volunteered to assist him, but only after hours. Kravchenko, a milling machine operator, Dmitry Kuzmich, a master turner, Masik, Volodka, Sonya, and Uncle Misha, and others are all prepared to lend a hand. Kuzmich examines the machine gun's technical drawings and asks for more detailed specifications. The workers are willing to assist Kalashnikov till he has completed the submachine gun's assembly. The newly constructed submachine gun is put to the test by the workers immediately, and they prove themselves true masters. At a later time, in Alma-Ata, Kazakhstan, Kalashnikov brings the good news to Lieutenant Colonel Basarsov, and he has been unlawfully detained. The officers are checking out the new submachine gun. They determine that it was, in fact, constructed by hand. Then, they've double-checked their directions to the workshop, where they know they'll find Andrei Ivanovich Kazakov, so he may inspect the weapon. Afterward, it is rushed to a firing range in Kazakov for evaluation. He's very impressed by the handmade submachine gun. Conversely, Kalashnikov's arresting officers mock his claims of being an inventor. Kozakov suddenly advises finalizing the documentation concerning the invention, which frees Kalashnikov and encourages him to show his pistol to General Pavel Kurbatkin, the district commander for Central Asia. The general, his soldiers, and Kalashnikov head to the range to put the submachine gun through its paces. He, too, is impressed by the outcome and extends an invitation to Kalashnikov for tea. The general also notes that Kalashnikov is wearing an old uniform. Given his status as a Turkmen inventor, he gives the order to have Kalashnikov produce a replacement. As a bonus, General Kurbatkin has certified him for entry into a national arms design competition. Kalashnikov and the other officers celebrated his brilliant innovation later that evening with supper. In the meantime, Kalashnikov lands in Moscow and is sent to the Shturov Weapons Testing Center of Galutvin. On the way, he runs across another innovator, Major Alexei Sudayev. To help him out in the competition, Kalashnikov meets with senior engineer Vasily Fedorovich at the facility. The facility's senior engineer has introduced Kalashnikov to the facility's various research labs. Fedorovich requests that he provide all of the blueprints for his work. Kalashnikov, on the other hand, has yet to complete blueprints for the new submachine gun. Now we need him to come up with a solution. The next morning, while having breakfast with his fellow innovators, Kalashnikov runs across Ekaterina Moiseva, a female design assistant. She is responsible for assisting Kalashnikov with the blueprints for his new weapon. Ekaterina has taken on more work while already being overloaded, and she has one request for Kalashnikov. The key is to avoid making unwanted advances toward her at all costs. Kalashnikov shows Ekaterina the submachine gun design he's been working on in the workshop. On the other hand, Ekaterina has gathered everything together and is now carefully inspecting it, size and all. When Kalashnikov leaves the workshop, Ekaterina blushes and looks in his direction. Kalashnikov, in the meantime, visits the range to watch the shooters. And then, he returns to Ekaterina to express his appreciation for her help. Kalashnikov considers what compensation he may offer Ekaterina for the time and effort she invested in his project. Then he offers her a cube of sugar as a compliment. At a dance with other officers and their dates later that night, Ekaterina and Kalashnikov mingle with the other pairs. Ekaterina arrives at the ball, but a senior lieutenant spots her and asks her to dance with him. There is no way for Kalashnikov to stop Ekaterina from dancing with the senior lieutenant. When senior lieutenant asks Ekaterina to escort her home, Kalashnikov becomes jealous and almost starts a fight with him. Ekaterina leaves, and he tails her from behind. Once Ekaterina has thanked Kalashnikov for the sugar, she enters her home. She adds that she knows her daughter will enjoy Kalashnikov's surprise reaction to the news. When he asks Ekaterina if her spouse is fighting, she emphatically denies having won and rushes for the door. The following morning is a momentous occasion for Kalashnikov. It's the day that the winners of the competition are announced. The loss of Sudayev's gun, however, compels him to confess the defeat to General Kurbatkin. However, he is granted a second opportunity and a free pass to try out a different design. Kalashnikov spends a number of hours in the workplace coming up with a concept. He returns to the workshop the next day to put together his planned layout. The officers have tried it out, and they are once again very impressed. After receiving a letter from Ekaterina at his workshop, Kalashnikov returns to the Shturov Weapons Testing Center. As Kalashnikov is boarding the train, he notices his brother, who is currently behind bars, also boarding. Along on the ride is Captain Lobov, who is both jealous of Kalashnikov's success and abusing him roughly. Before boarding the train, Captain Lobov overhears Kalashnikov speaking to a prisoner and suspects that Kalashnikov is an imposter. Captain Lobov, suspicious that Kalashnikov is up to no good in the bush, tries to assassinate him upon their arrival. Kalashnikov, however, argues that he is not where he is today because of his brother's sacrifice. During this time, Kalashnikov has returned to the facility and is waiting for Ekaterina to arrive. He covertly takes her for a stroll through the woods by throwing a stone at the window. An unexpected downpour, though, has everyone racing back into the building for cover. As a result, they began making love to one another and expressing their affection to each other. When the results are released the following day, nobody seemed particularly interested in Kalashnikov's innovation. Considering that it does not fulfill the client's criteria, the officers and committee are perplexed by the decision. The officer, though, insists that hostilities continue. As a result, the finalists can all keep developing new versions of their weapons. Then, Kalashnikov goes to the clinic to see whether the doctor will let him return to the front lines. Unfortunately, his injuries prevent him from being ready quite yet. Kalashnikov had thought about how things would be different if he had not even returned to Matai Station. He probably would have been picking mushrooms to bring home to his mom. Kalashnikov goes to see Ekaterina and her mom at their house. The two of them spark each other's interest. Then, the good news of victory over the German forces is announced. Further, Kalashnikov is given the go signal to move through with the development of his innovative new weapon. He rounds up his men to get to work on it. Then Major Alexei Sudayev comes by and inspires him to keep working in his workshop. By 1947, Kalashnikov has a prototype of his next automatic weapon and sends it off to the Kovrov Arms factory for further development. Alexander Zaitsev meets him, ready to assist in the development of his firearm. They put a lot of time and effort into perfecting every aspect of this new gun. Following Sudayev's recommendation, he opts for simplicity. In a hurry to find out if it works but not willing to risk a test at the range. However, General Degtyarev's model is now the one being tried. So, he takes risks and successfully runs his own trial. Then, Kalashnikov is taken into custody for discharging a firearm inside the compound without first obtaining the necessary permission. Then, General Vasily Degtyaryov, a famous weaponry designer and one of Kalashnikov's chief rivals, is introduced to him. After learning that Kalashnikov never attended school to learn about his inventions, General Degtyaryov dismisses him. But Degtyaryov, showing deep appreciation for Kalashnikov's skill and the supremacy of his design, withdraws from the contest and puts his weapon through grueling tests in the toughest of environments, including submersion in water and sand. Then he travels back to Shturov, where he is met by Ekaterina with the opportunity to share the good news. The time for his innovation has long since passed. Ekaterina also reveals that he will soon become a father. The movie ends with General Degtyaryov personally welcoming Kalashnikov to Moscow in 1949 to honor him for his contributions. The new weapon, designated as the AK-47, has been field tested extensively and received final approval for mass manufacture after the first round of testing. Kalashnikov is awarded a medal and granted an extended leave of absence, which he uses to take his family back to his mother's farm. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this and help the channel grow.